excellent connection. Do not show me
Uh,
the art while I'm streaming.
I will not.
Thank you. Where is the start here? Oh my god, so much happens in this fucking chapter.
Scared.
You don't have to be scared yet. Well, I'll let you
It's
feel
just
whatever
a
you want to feel. Alright. Tell
well,
tell me tell me what happened.
um, did it start when they were on the mountain, or
Yeah, I'm
was
pretty sure.
something? Okay, so they were on top of the mountain, and they were it was Shailan and Hua Chang, and they were trudging through, and they had to be quiet because there's a potential for an avalanche, and of course, Fu Yao and what the fuck is his name?
Non-Feng.
Nanfeng are in the snow on the mountain arguing and yelling at each other, and then they cause an avalanche. And Shalian wants to help them, so he does. And then, even though Hua Chang is like, "Don't do it," and then the avalanche happens. Shalian has a terrible dream. His schizophrenic window is ticking.
Yeah.
Um, and then he wakes up in the temple of whatever, how many
10,000
guys.
gods.
Yeah. Um, and Hua Chang is there, and as he's about to like touch the veil of the statue, um, and he says he's never been here before, but he insists on going left instead of letting Chilean decide, which he always does because
Mm-hmm.
that's his wife. Um, and Shelian hears Fu Yao and Nanfang somewhere out, like on the right or whatever, and then they go. He goes over, and there's like, is it a fire pit? What is it? Is it
It's
a
like a
lava
pit.
pit?
No, it's not a lava pit.
Oh,
It's
okay.
they're in silk
Oh,
webs.
yeah, it's a pit. They're held in
A
webs,
cocoon, yeah.
and
Hey, bud.
they're just arguing there
Yeah.
above a pit, and Shalian tries to help, and then he gets stuck in the pit as well, and it starts tickling him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot about that.
Very interesting thing to happen. And then they argue some more, and then they accidentally reveal that they're fucking mooching in function, and Shalian's like, yeah, you guys are obvious. I knew this all along.
Yeah.
And then I think that's it.
Yeah, that's
We
it.
stopped there. Yeah, we
Yeah.
stopped there.
Wow, that was the best recollection you've done.
I know,
What
I
is this
know, I don't.
water bottle situation back here? Why is there one leaning on your...
So that one was from 2 nights ago. That one was from last night
Do you not have a fucking side table? Why is your bed turned like this?
because it allows for more room.
Oh, okay.
Don't look at my laundry. Allows for more room instead
It's
of being
normally
like,
all over the ground, bro. Like, it's... I don't even know where the laundry is right now.
it's in the bags.
Alright.
And like, if I did it the other way, it'd be like I wouldn't have enough room behind me, and I don't like that.
Yeah. So one thing I'll tell you, remember that they were on the mountain and they were fighting, and Shilian was like, go send a butterfly over, and then Hua Chang sent one over and was
Right,
listening,
right,
and then
right.
got sour and was like, just leave them.
Yes.
So it ends with um, Mooching being all pissed, like you saw through us. So that ends. Fu Yao, no, now he should be called Mooching, gritted his teeth and said coldly, so, you've known who we were for a long time, but you never said anything. You quietly watched us put on an act. Am I correct? Chapter 93. Cave of 10,000 Gods. Faces of the 10,000 Gods revealed.
Dude, no
See-
way.
Seeing that he was taking the matter quite hard, Shilian decided to try to give some guidance. Actually, it's not that big of a deal. Mooching sneered. I knew I was right. Was it fun? Did you enjoy watching me act? Hmm? Now that they were being honest with each other, Mooching was honestly tearing him a new one. Nanfang, or Function, rather, only looked awkward at first, but in the end he couldn't let Mooching's words slide without comment. What's with that tone? Mooching was pale-faced and thin-skinned, and his entire head turned bright red whenever his blood started rushing, making it impossible to hide that he was upset. He whipped his head around. What tone? Don't forget you're the one of the jesters here, too. I'm not as generous as you are, to have no complaints about being someone's entertainment for so long. I wasn't trying to watch you guys make fools of yourselves, Shilian said. And stop thinking everyone is as narrow-minded as you are, Function added. His Highness still tried to help you even when your shitty deeds landed you in Heaven's prison. Ha! Huh. Oh, thank you so much, but I ended up in a prison thanks to your son. What, you want to fight for real? You're not afraid to sire a son, but you are afraid to talk? Function really wanted to knock him dead for raising the subject of his son. Unfortunately, all three of them were still rolled up tight by the silk webbing, so he couldn't move a muscle. Function and
So
Mooching could
funny.
only... Yeah, Function and Mooching could only curse at each other, all manners in class gone. Function's face was getting redder and redder from anger, and Shilian was afraid he'd blow his top soon and start cursing up a storm. So Shilian tried to wiggle a bit, managing to rock back and forth a few times and eventually roll to Mooching's side. Mooching, can you try turning around? Mooching stopped his yelling and took a breath. What do you want? Function is too far away. I can't roll over there. But since we know these webs can be torn by teeth, I want to try to break the bindings on your wrists, Shilian explained. Mooching glared at him for a moment. Then his expression swiftly cooled as he gazed upwards like a dead fish looking at the sky. No thanks. I really do want to help, Shilian said helplessly. Your Highness possesses a body of 1,000 gold. I couldn't possibly trouble you with such greatness, Mooching said coldly. Function cussed. What the actual fuck? Why are you being so sarcastic at a time like this, huh? He's helping you, trying to save you, but you're acting like he owes you. Mooching's head shut up. Who asked him to help? Shilian, why do you always show up at times like these? Shilian was a little bewildered, and he vaguely remembered that Mooching had asked him the same thing a long time ago. How did he answer him back then? He couldn't remember. Is there something wrong with showing up at times like these? Mooching lay back down. Doesn't matter. I don't need your help. Why? Shilian questioned. Everyone needs help sometimes just to get by. Don't bother with him anymore, Function said. He's just a show-off. He thinks he'll lose face if he gets help from you. Mooching and Function kept at each other's throats while the wraith butterfly leisurely danced around Shilian. It was unhurried and calm as it shimmered with faint silver light. It made Shilian remember something, so he interrupted their sniping. Stop arguing, you two. It'll be more of a joke if anyone else sees you like this. And someone will be along to help us soon. No one in heaven or on earth will heed a call from this hellish place, so who's going to come save us? Mooching said derisively. Unless... A particular person came to mind before he finished, and he trailed off abruptly. Function, however, said directly, Crimson Rainsought Flower came with you? You trust him that much? Mooching asked doubtfully. You're sure he's going to come? Shilian was confident. He'll come. Huacheng had been behaving oddly for a while. Several times, he almost suspected that the Huacheng next to him was fake. Nonetheless, his instincts told him that was impossible. Even if he wanted to, how would he find this cave? Mooching added. Why don't we holler some more? Function suggested. The more people, the louder the noise. No need, Shilian said. We only need to sit and wait. No, just lie down and wait. Because Huacheng and I are joined by a red string. Before he even finished his sentence, he could see Function and Mooching's faces twitching like worms, and worms had crawled into their ears. What's with that look? Shilian asked. don't misunderstand. I'm not talking about some frivolous notion about the red string of fate. It's a spiritual device. It's just a spiritual
Right,
device.
right.
Only then did they stop twitching. Oh, I see, Function replied. Muching was doubtful. What kind of spiritual device? What does it do? It's quite useful, Shilian said. It's a red string tied on both our hands that invisibly connects the two of us, and one can use it to find the other. It'll never break as long as one of us is still breathing. The others couldn't listen anymore and cut him off. How is that any different from a red string of fate? It's exactly the same thing. Shilian was taken aback. No, I don't think so. It's different. And just how is it different? It's exactly the same thing, all right, Muching exclaimed. Shilian pondered the matter, only to discover that it was true. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that the intent and function of this spiritual device really was quite similar to a red string of fate. Just when he began to think he should drop this train of thought, a voice came from above. Guga, are you down there? The moment he heard that voice, Shilian instantly felt himself relax. He looked up. Sanlang, I'm down here. Then he turned to the other two in the pit. You see, I told you he'd come. Function and Mu Ching both had My dad is screaming in the hallway. Do you hear him?
I literally heard.
Hold on, let me drink. Function and Mooching both made complicated expressions when they saw how happy he looked. Hua Chung didn't peek his head over the edge, but all of them could hear the helpless way he spoke. Guga, I said not to run off. Now what should we do? Shilian was confused by his tone, and his delight faltered. Huh? Is this silk webbing that difficult to deal with? Can't Ming slash through it? The silk isn't the difficult part, he thought he heard Hua Chung mutter faintly, but the words were so quiet he wasn't sure whether they were actually said. A moment later, Hua Chung quietly spoke. Ming's not in a good state right now. Shilian found that strange. Wasn't Ming perfectly fine and completely energetic just a little while ago? How could there be something wrong with it now? Next to him, Mooching humphed. No need to ask him any more. How could the scimitar Ming be in a bad state? He's clearly looking for an excuse not to help. Don't say that, Shilian countered. Shilian thought it was more likely that Ming was being disciplined and Hua Chung wasn't allowing it out. Suddenly a black shadow flashed above, and a figure dressed in red landed soundlessly at Shilian's side. Hua Chung leaned down to hold Shilian's hand. Sanlang, why did you jump down too? Shilian cried, when he realized who it was. Watch out for the spider silk. Sure enough, the white silk tendrils were flying at him in an attack, but Hua Chung didn't even spare them a glance. He gave a casual wave, and hundreds of silver butterflies shielded his back, forming armor with their wings. They started ruthlessly fighting the silk tendrils. Hua Chung tore away the white silk that bound Shilian, then held him around the waist, and shook out a red umbrella with his free hand. Let's go. The other two were dumbfounded when they saw that he had zero intention of saving them. Did you forget something? Shilian hadn't yet spoken, but Hua Chung looked back. Oh, that's right. The heavily bound Fangshin flew straight into Hua Chung's hand, and he passed the sword to Shilian. Guga, your sword. That was what he forgot? Function and Mooching both cried, Hey! Hua Chung hugged Shilian closer and flung out his arm to open the red umbrella. Guga, hold on tight to me. With that, the umbrella started flying upwards, taking the pair along with it. Shilian hugged him tightly as instructed, and the other two began to scream again in earnest when they were about 6 meters off the ground. Shilian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I haven't forgotten you. He sent Royer out from his wrist, which wrapped itself around the two giant cocoons a few times, and began to drag them along behind the umbrella. When they were halfway out of the pit, Function cried, Wait, I left something behind. What is it? Shilian called back from above. A sword, Function shouted. It fell into the corner. Shilian looked down, and sure enough, a sword's hilt was barely visible in all that white silk. He made Royer stretch out further to wrap around the sword, and he pulled them all out together. Finally, all four made it back onto solid ground. Royer threw the two thick silk cocoons to the ground and hurriedly wrapped itself back into Shilian's wrist, trembling slightly. It almost seemed like it was terrified of the white silk webs, which were so much like itself, but so aggressive and evil. Shilian soothed Royer while cutting the webbing on the cocoons with Fangshin. The moment Fengshin and Mooching could move, they both leapt to their feet and ripped off the rest of the webbing. Shilian held out the sword Roye had helped bring along towards Feng Shin. I keep fucking it up. Finally, getting a good look at the blade, he stared at it in amazement. Is this Hongjing? Nanfang, did your general repair that sword? It was an offhand comment, but the moment the words left his lips, he realized how bad it sounded. Fengshen and Muqing were still in the forms of Nanfang and Fu Yao, and Shilian had forgotten that their identities had been exposed, and was still subconsciously going along with their act. Although he'd intended to be considerate, that consideration simply led to awkwardness. The two of them fell into a strange silence. Fengshen couldn't mask his expression. Discomfort surfaced on his face. He transformed back to his true form and took the sword. Yes, it's fixed. There are plenty of ghosts on Mount Tonglu after all. Flashing it around makes things easier. This is the sword that Huacheng broke in the desert that is supposed to reveal something's true form.
Right, right, right.
Oh my god, my parents are screaming downstairs and I don't know what they're screaming about. Shilian took a peek at the one who shattered Hongjing, who was standing right beside him. He cleared his throat softly. Sorry for the trouble. After all, it wasn't easy to repair a sword that had been shattered into pieces. Muqing also transformed back to his true form and brushed off the rest of the silk webbing with his sleeves. It's good that it's fixed. So many of the nefarious creatures here are adept at disguise. If someone's not good at using their brain, using Hongjing is the only way they'll see through deception. Fengshen was pissed. Who are you calling brainless so passive-aggressively? Did you think I wouldn't notice? And there they went again. Shilian shook his head and turned to Huacheng. Sanlang, I ran off too quickly before. Sorry for leaving you behind. Huacheng tucked the umbrella away. Don't worry, as long as Guga doesn't run off like that again. Shilian grinned, but just as he was about to speak, he saw that Muqing's glance at Huacheng had turned into a strange, pointed stare. Muqing, what is it? Shilian asked. Muqing immediately snapped out of it and gave him a look. Nothing. I've just never seen Crimson Rainsaw flower like this and found it curious, that's all. Shilian couldn't fully believe his explanation. While this likely was the first time Muqing had seen Huacheng's true form, he had certainly seen Huacheng in his youthful body, and the two skins weren't remarkably different, so why that look? The four left the cave, but after only a few steps, Fengshen asked in astonishment, What is this place? Muqing was also stunned. What happened here? They had been trapped at the bottom of the silk webbing pit, so they hadn't had a chance to investigate the situation outside. They were astonished at the sight of innumerable unique divine statues filling cave after cave, and shocked to learn that there was such a mysterious place and such uncanny craftsmanship beneath this great snowy mountain. This is a cave of 10,000 gods, Shilian explained. Let me drink again.
Crunch, crunch, crunch.
Muqing scanned their surroundings and mumbled. Who knows how many years and how much blood and sweat it'd take to build something like this. This is honestly... He seemed at loss for words to describe it. Shilian could understand his feelings. After all, a stone cave like this was meant for cultivation and worship of the divine. His parents had constructed caves like this for him. What heavenly official wouldn't be astounded by such a massive cave of 10,000 gods? If one of their own statues was worshipped in a place like this, it would be a huge boon to their divinity. What god is worshipped here? Fengshen asked, confused. Why are all the faces covered? Naturally, it's to prevent future passerbys like us from seeing, Shilian replied. Now that's strange, Muqing said. They could have just smashed the statues' heads. Why go through all this trouble? Thin veils like these won't stop anyone who really wants to see. As he spoke, he walked over, intending to peel away the veil of the nearest divine statue. Shilian hadn't had the chance to stop him when there was a chilling flash. The tip of a silver blade loomed mere centimeters away from Muqing's fingers. Murderous intent made the air between them grow tense. What are you doing? Fengshen asked in alarm. Even with the blade so close, Muqing didn't seem scared at all. Your scimitar looks just fine. Why'd you tell us that it was not in a good state? Hua Cheng looked directly behind him and said lazily, stood directly behind him and said lazily, "Didn't anyone teach you not to randomly put your hands on things in other people's territory?" "It's not your territory. So whose justice are you upholding?" Muqing countered. "I just don't want to cause unnecessary trouble," Hua Cheng said flatly. "This is Mount Tonglu after all. Who knows what could happen if all the veils are removed?" "I can't believe there'd come a day when someone as arrogant as Crimson Rainsod Flower would be afraid to cause unnecessary trouble," Muqing said. He moved his hands downward to touch the statue's carved robe. The scimitar Ming followed and pointed at him once more. "I'm only trying to touch the stone now, not reveal the veil. Why is Crimson Rainsod Flower stopping me again?" Muqing questioned. Hua Cheng shot him a fake-looking smile. "I'm preventing you from causing problems." Shilian put himself between the two. Stop. It's not like we have to see which god is being worshipped here. We shouldn't stay here too long anyways, so let's just go. Don't forget that we still have a mission to accomplish." Hua Cheng stared at Muqing's hand. "Since that's what Gege wants, have him put his hand away and I'll let go." "Muqing, back off, all right?" Shilian said. Muqing glared at him. "Are you nuts? Why shouldn't he back off first? What if I back off and he doesn't?" Between a heavenly official and a ghost, Feng Xin naturally chose to stand on the side of the heavenly official. "At most, we'll accept both sides standing down at the same time." Hua Cheng showed no signs of doing so. "You wish." Seeing that neither side would give in, Shilian rested a hand on Muqing's arm. "Muqing, drop it," he urged gently. "You're the one who started this, so you should be the one to let it go, all right? Can you think of it as giving me some face? I swear that if you back off, San Lang will keep his promise." Although Muqing was clearly reluctant, he held the stalemate for another moment, then slowly dropped his hand. They all returned to the road. Finally, the tension relaxed, and Shilian sighed in relief. They reached another fork in the road, and Shilian turned to Hua Cheng. "Which way do you think we should go this time?" Hua Cheng picked a path, seemingly at random. "This way." Feng Xin and Muqing had been walking behind them and appeared to be at each other's throats again, but Muqing briefly paused their argument. "How did you decide?" he asked. "Why this way?" The two in front of them turned their heads to look at them. "It was random." Feng Xin frowned. How can you pick it randomly? Let's not go blindly. We might stumble into another pit." Hua Cheng smiled. "Even if we fall into a pit, I have ways to pull His Highness out. You can follow us if you like, or you can head off on your own if you prefer. To be honest, I'd rather not have to rescue you again." "You." That was just the way Hua Cheng spoke. Even if he had a smile on his face, and his words were perfectly polite, it always sounded fake. The faker his smile, the more his tone enraged people, so much that Feng Xin knocked an arrow on his bow. Shilian knew that he wouldn't actually shoot. "Sorry about this, Feng Xin, but considering our current situation, it really makes no difference which way we go." Hua Cheng laughed heartily. "Oh, I'm scared. Looks like I'd better stay far away from you." He waggled his brows at Shilian and really did put some distance between them. Shilian knew he was just trying to leave the other two behind, and he smiled as he shook his head. He was about to follow Hua Cheng, but without warning, Muqing reached out and pulled him to a stop. Shilian looked back, bewildered. "Muqing, what is it?" Muqing didn't answer. Instead, he simply shouted, "Now!" Then he grabbed Shilian and dashed off down the other path. Let me drink my drink.
Dude, the boys are fighting.
Ahead, Hua Cheng had noticed that something was wrong, and he turned back to look. But Feng Xin had already punched the stone wall. Boulders rumbled and crashed down, blocking the road behind them. Muqing and Feng Xin rushed forward and slapped 50 or so talismans on the rocks in the span of a second. Hua Cheng was now separated from the three of them by the pile of boulders. As it turned out, Feng Xin and Muqing hadn't been arguing when they were trailing behind them earlier. They had actually been discussing how to launch this sudden attack. Shilian was dumbfounded. "What are you guys doing?" He struggled free of Muqing's grip, wanting to check on Hua Cheng behind the wall of stone. However, Feng Xin tripped him, and he and Muqing grabbed one of Shilian's arms and began to drag him off at a breakneck pace. "Let's get away, quick! Those talismans won't last for long," Feng Xin exclaimed. "You have to ask what we're doing? There's something odd about him, can't you tell?" Muqing reprimanded. How is he odd? Shilian questioned. You've really gone stupid. Odd is written all over him. You're the only one blind to it, Muching exclaimed. Stop talking and run, Function roared. Fuck, I think the wraith butterflies caught up. Block the cave entrance, Muching barked. Function continued to punch the walls as they ran, and many of the cave entrances were completely blocked by the giant rocks that tumbled down. The two dragged Shilian along as they fled through the endless, winding underground corridors, sending his head spinning from all the twists and turns. Stop! Stop! Shilian shouted as they ran. When they finally felt they'd gone far enough, Function and Muching paused to catch their breaths. Taking advantage of this break, Shilian said, What I meant was, why did you two suddenly drag me away? Did you notice something? Function was supporting himself with his hands on his knees and panting harshly. Let him tell you again. Muching straightened up and turned to Shilian. It's so obvious! You didn't see it? That pearl! Do you remember that pearl? What pearl? Shilian asked. Muching said each word slowly and clearly. The red coral pearl from the earrings of the god-pleasing martial warrior costume. The one you wore for the Shangyuan heavenly ceremony. The earring you lost. Shilian thought for a while, but he couldn't remember. He looked confused as he tugged at his earlobe. Were those earrings red coral pearls? Did I lose one? The corners of Muching's lips twitched, and he said furiously, You two even wrongfully accused me of stealing that pearl. How could you forget something like this? It's been 800 years, Shilian began, but Function interrupted to rebuke Muching. Stop making shit up. No one wronged you. You're the one who started making assumptions all on your own. Shilian waved. Stop fighting! Stop fighting! Why are you talking about that pearl out of nowhere? Because it's been found, Muching exclaimed. Did you see the red bead tied to Hua Cheng's hair? Shilian's eyes widened. Are you saying... I am, Muching stated with conviction. So that was why Muching had that weird look in his eyes when he looked at Hua Cheng earlier. Why would he have that red coral pearl? Are you sure you remembered it correctly? Shilian questioned. Muching cut him off. I searched for that pearl non-stop for a whole year, and I've never stopped looking for it. I'm the only one who would never remember it wrong. Shilian crossed his arms and tucked them into his sleeves. He furrowed his brow in contemplation. I still think you might be mistaken. There's no reason for him to have that pearl. Don't all high-quality red coral pearls look pretty much the same? Besides, Sanlong has always liked collecting rare treasures. He's got antiques that are thousands of years old. Muching nodded. Fine. Very well. You think I'm wrong? Fine. Then look at this. He was standing right next to a divine statue, and as he finished speaking, he yanked the veil off its face. Why don't you take a look at this, then? Surely it can't be a mistake, too. The moment the veil was lifted, Shilian's pupils shrank. The divine statue's face wasn't deformed or frightening. It was the face of a young man who wore a gentle, kind expression, smiling and in high spirits. But when Shilian saw it, a chill raced down his spine and raised the hair on his neck. How could it not be eerie? This face was nearly identical to Shilian's own. Looking at this divine statue so closely, it was like staring into a mirror. Even that smile, previously kind, now seemed disturbing. Shilian couldn't help but feel shaken by the sight of it. This... Are you still going to tell me I'm wrong? Muching said coldly. With much effort, Shilian finally squeezed out, Why would one of my divine statues be here? One? Muching replied. Not just one. Look closely. Then he yanked the veil from another divine statue. It, too, had a face that was undoubtedly Shilian's. He pulled the veils from the faces of 5 or 6 more divine statues. They were all identical. This certainly is a cave of 10,000 gods, Muching said. But there's only one god being worshipped here. Only Shilian. He was surrounded by endless copies of his own face. It was like Shilian had fallen into a bizarre, hallucinatory dream. His mind spun for a good while before he abruptly realized something. Wait, Muching, you didn't get a chance to see the statues' faces earlier, right? You were going to remove the veils, but he stopped you. Muching humphed. I don't need to see the statues' faces to know that you're the subject. How would you know? Shilian asked. Muching rolled all the silk veils into a ball and tossed them to the side, his veins popping slightly. How would I know? Because all your clothes, accessories, and daily living things were my responsibility back then. I washed for you, I mended for you, and every item in your wardrobe was unique. These statues are too detailed. Everything is there, exactly the same, completely. When I saw these clothes, of course I knew whose face they would have. Shilian fell
Bro.
silent. He put a hand over his forehead and thought back on Hua Cheng's odd behavior along the way. Next to them, Feng Shen said, "He wouldn't let us look at those statues, which proves he knows exactly what's weird about them. That whole excuse about how we all dropped in by accident after the avalanche was bullshit. He must know what this place is." "Not just that. I bet he was the one who threw us in that pit of silk webbing," Mu Ching added. "He was serious about killing us." "But why are these statues like this?" Shilian wondered. The statues had all been carved with such precision that they seemed nearly alive. The details were more than detailed, almost to the point of being frightening. It was clear to see just how closely the sculptor had observed their subject. Shilian didn't think even the works of Shinle's most renowned sculptors had reached this level of detail. It was as if the sculptor's mind was filled by Shilian, and Shilian alone, as if his eyes saw nothing else. The three of them were surrounded by countless statues that all bore the same face, and Feng Shen shuddered violently. "Honestly, what the fuck? Too creepy. They're too fucking realistic." And there were so many. "I suspect these statues are components for some wicked spell. Let's destroy them," Mu Ching said. He moved to shatter one with the chop of his hand. Shilian's mind was instantly pulled back to the present. He stopped him. "Don't!" he cried. Mu Ching looked at him. "Are you sure? The spell could be aimed at you." Shilian pondered it, but in the end he still said, "Let's not act recklessly. I think the chance that it's a wicked spell is very small." "I think it's very large," Feng Shen said. "Honestly, what the fuck? Doesn't the sight of these things scare you?" Mu Ching stared at Shilian, who stared at him right back. "And what are you basing that off of?" "Nothing," Shilian said. "But these divine statues are quite nice and very meticulously sculpted. If we destroy them before we find out about them, we might regret it." After a pause, he added, "Sanlong might have lied to me about something, but I truly don't think it's anything that would harm me." Mu Ching couldn't believe his ears. "Did he cast some spell on you to bewitch your mind? I think if you wrote suspicious on his face, you'd suddenly forget how to read." While they were talking, Feng Shen snapped to alertness, like he was about to face a dangerous foe. "Watch out!" he cried. Shilian and Mu Ching both tensed and demanded, "What is it?" "That spider silk is coming at us again," Feng Shen exclaimed. The palm torch illuminated the stone walls ahead. They were covered with large patches of dense white silk. The three cursed mentally, gearing themselves up for another clash. Yet unexpectedly, this white silk wasn't as aggressive as the silk in the pit. It neither moved nor attacked. It was acting like a gecko lounging on a wall. After they had waited for a while, Shilian observed, "These silk nets don't seem alive." "If they're not alive, then what are they for?" Feng Shen questioned. Shilian had an answer in mind, which he confirmed when he went over to study it. "I think they're covering something." All three of them stood before the stone wall. Shilian gave the white silk a tug and pulled off a large section. As expected, the strands were tough and difficult to tear down, but he could manage it with effort. The veils had concealed the identity of those divine statues, so what was being hidden on the stone walls? The other two joined him in tearing down the webs, each taking care of different areas. Soon a section of the wall was revealed on Shilian's side. "It's a mural!" The webs had been hiding a giant painting. The entire surface of the wall was densely packed with lines, colors, and little people. The mural was divided into smaller pieces, each with a different style. Some were coarse and wild, some elegant, some exquisite, some peculiar. After studying it for a while, Shilian stated, "He painted this." "He?" Mu Ching echoed. "Hua Cheng? Are you sure?" "Yes," Shilian said softly. "There are words on here, and he's the one who wrote them." He pointed to a little blood-red person on the wall. Right next to it, there were a bunch of messy, twisted, indiscernible characters. It looked like they had been written in a state of delirium, or scrawled to vent the author's feelings during a period of extreme suffering. Based on those characters, Shilian could guess that the little blood-red person painted there was Hua Cheng himself. But for some unknown reason, he had depicted himself as extremely ugly and disfigured. Feng Shen glanced at it and couldn't help but comment, "That handwriting. It's so ugly I've gone blind. I bet even I write better than him." Handwriting uglier than Feng Shen's was truly beyond saving. Shilian was dazzled. There was so much to see that he didn't even know where to start looking. Now that he'd confirmed this was Hua Cheng's work, it was like he had discovered a treasure trove. His fingertips began to tremble slightly. Let me drink. Mooching seemed to have discovered something nearby, and called out, "Your Highness! Come quick! Come and see!" Only then did Shilian snap out of it. "What is it?" Function and Mooching were already rendered speechless. They could only point at one of the images. This piece was considerably larger than the other ones depicted. Right at its center was a tall tower, connected to a city wall. Below, a sea of people surrounded by a magnificent stage. The lines were simple, yet they captured the scene perfectly in only a few strokes. Mooching pointed at the center of the mural. "So, that was him?" he said with a trembling voice. Shilian was also staring at that section. This piece was mostly colorless. Only 2 figures had been colored within it. There was a small figure at the bottom that had been painted pure white. It seemed to be glowing. The figure was looking towards the sky, with hands outstretched. It was about to catch another little figure, who was falling from the tower. That little figure was bloody red. And then there's a picture. They're finding out! They're finding out!
Show it to me, Rachel. Wow.
Why is this? There we go. Is that him? Was that him? Mooching murmured. The little kid who fell from the Shangyuan Heavenly Ceremonial Parade? But how is that possible? I can't believe it. Crimson Rainsought Flower was him? Function patted Shilian, and Mooching madly pointed to one side. There's more in the back! Shilian walked over to the other mural and saw that it depicted a dilapidated little shrine. Upon the shrine's altar there was a divine statue, which also glowed faintly with white light. It held a sword in one hand, and in the other hand offered a red umbrella downward. There was an ugly little blood-red figure at the bottom of the mural. It cupped a small flower in its hands, which it was offering to the statue. Shilian felt a sudden headache coming on. His hand flew to clutch his throbbing temple, but he didn't look away. The next mural depicted a battlefield. Large bands of soldiers were gearing up for war, and a little white figure floated in the sky overhead. It wielded a long sword in one hand and looked mighty and glorious. There was another little blood-red figure among the dense battalion below. Its head was raised to watch the one in the sky. Shilian was absorbed in these paintings, when Function's disbelieving voice rang out. That red one, it's all the same person, isn't it? It's all him! They're all Hua Cheng! Holy fuck! He's been following you all this time? Mooching also looked incredulous. He wasn't just following, he was watching. Watching very closely. Very, very closely. He was everywhere. Look, this is the main street. Buyu Forest? What's this? Baiza Hill? My God! Was he the one who carved all these divine statues? Looking at the murals was giving Function chills. My fucking God. Who the hell is he? He's had his eye on you since 800 years ago? And he's still following you even now? What the fuck? This is terrifying. Is he bewitched? What the hell does he want? No normal devotee would go this far. So just what the hell does he want? There must be some plot. There must be, Mooching exclaimed. Let's keep looking. I'm sure we'll find a clue. Shilian was completely stricken. He stared at that little blood-red figure on the wall, unable to wrap his mind around it. It felt like countless memories were fighting to rush into his brain. He hadn't forgotten, but they'd never taken root. They were pouring in, so fast that his breath could barely keep up anymore. Just then Shilian heard the other two yell, and he snapped out of it. What is it now? He asked. Function and Mooching were both standing before a stone wall, and it looked like they had seen something outrageous. When they saw Shilian walk towards them, Function quickly turned around and stopped him, pushing him away. Holy fuck, don't look! What? Shilian was bewildered. What was it? Why can't I look? Mooching's expression was dark. Just don't bother. There's nothing worth seeing here. Let's get out of here as soon as possible. The two of them each grabbed one of Shilian's arms and started to bolt once more. Shilian complained as he was being dragged along. What are you doing? I wasn't done looking at the murals. There's no need to look anymore. Things like that shouldn't be seen, Function yelled angrily as he ran. My fucking god. I've never witnessed anything like that in my fucking life, nor anyone like him. Shilian was baffled. What have you never witnessed? What's wrong with San Long? Why are you still calling him San Long? Stop it, Wu Qing admonished. You can't get away from him fast enough. Never go near him again. He's not normal. He's sick in the head. He's crazy. Shilian couldn't listen anymore. Why are you two insulting him like this? None of us are all that normal, you know. Stop asking, Function cried. You don't understand. He's not like us. He's crazy. Toward you, he... Toward me what? Shilian demanded. Please let me go. Let me go back and see for myself, all right? One wanted to go back, but the other two were pulling him forward. They were stuck in that stalemate until suddenly a bone-chilling voice came from ahead of them. Didn't I say not to randomly put your hands on things in other people's territory? The three of them froze, then slowly turned to look. Before them stood a man dressed in red. Hua Chong was leaning against the stone wall, blocking their way with a smile. If you do, who knows what will happen? While his mouth was smiling, his eyes held not a trace of mirth, but he was instead dark and muddied. He hugged one of his arms, while his other hand idly fiddled with something small. It was the deep red coral pearl earring tied to his thin braid. The coral's luminous red luster was as bright and dazzling as the affinity knot on his pale finger. Neither the hundreds of charmed talismans nor the heavy piles of boulders had stopped him. Function and Mooching both reacted swiftly. Function shot a barrage of arrows as Mooching swung his saber to send an air-blade strike towards Hua Chong, then grabbed Shilian and ran. Function employed his same old trick and struck wildly at the walls. What the fuck? He cried. How did he find us so fast? How should I know? Mooching yelled back. Wait! The red string! The red string! His finger is still tied with that red string. When it dawned on them, they both turned around to seize Shilian's hand, as if he would let them. Shilian clutched the red knot on his finger to protect it and exclaimed, You can't! Your Highness, he'll find us as long as you keep that red string tied to you, Function insisted. If you don't want him to catch up, it has to be removed. Shilian still held on, guarding his finger. I'm not afraid of him catching up. I want to ask him about this face to face. Mooching's eyes widened. You still want to talk to him? I don't think you'll realize how dangerous he is until he's devoured you whole. But I already know he's dangerous, Shilian countered. You guys won't tell me what that mural shows, and you won't let me go near him. You won't convince me of anything acting like this. He's a ghost king, and his behavior is abnormal. People would usually stay far away based on that alone. You shouldn't need convincing of anything. Shilian raised 2 fingers. 2 choices. Either you let me go back and ask him to explain, or you let me go back and look at that mural. Function and Mooching seemed to remember something terrifying. One's lips began to twitch while the other's brows could not furrow any deeper. They both stood blocking him and yelled in unison, We'll allow neither! Thus, Shilian rolled up his sleeves. Well, since you both said no, let's solve this with our fists. Who's first? Or will you come at me together? Mooching turned to Function. You first! Then he backed away to the side of the tunnel. Function didn't seem confident that he could win against Shilian, but he was determined to give it his best shot to rescue this wayward youth. He gripped his bow. Very well. Your Highness, pardon my insolence. Before Shilian could even return the opening courtesy, he felt something hot being stuck on his back. Someone behind him shouted, Stay still! Don't talk! And he was rendered as stiff as an iron board. Not just his body, but he also couldn't move his mouth to speak. Mooching darted out from behind Shilian. Let's drag him away. That talisman will paralyze him temporarily, but it won't last long, he said to Function. Function was slightly dumbfounded. Why did you ambush him? Didn't we agree to go one-on-one? Shilian was shocked as well that Mooching would immediately go back on his word. He wouldn't have been deceived so easily had it not been for his wholehearted trust in both of his once subordinates. Who has the time for you to go one-on-one right now? Mooching said. He's doing it on purpose. It's easy to see that he's dragging things out to give Hua Chong time to catch up. Did you see the state he's in right now? Completely enchanted. No matter what you tell him, nothing will get through. Once they meet, Hua Chong will probably only need to charm him with a few lies, and he'll believe him, just like someone who's under a fox spirit's thrall. Function considered this and decided that what Mooching said made some sense. Your Highness, he sighed, we didn't intend to deceive you, but his behavior towards you is really unseemly. I can't even speak of it. Please, just come with us. Let's go, Muching said. Muching's words weren't a suggestion or a plea, they were a command. He must have stuck a command talisman on Shilian's back, drawn in his own blood. A command talisman could ostensibly make its target obey the spellcaster's every whim, but in reality it could only realize simple commands like do not speak, walk, stop, run, and so on. More complicated commands were harder to execute, and the talisman couldn't confound the target's mind. Only powerful ghosts like the Brocade Immortal could manage such things. The two hurried along with Shilian in tow again, but they were stopped by a pile of rubble along the way. Function saw that their path had been cut off and wondered aloud, "Why are there rocks blocking the way? We can't go any further." "Weren't you the one who knocked them down? Why are you asking me?" Muching said. "You were the one leading the way, so you're the one who messed up. Why are we somewhere we've already been, anyway?" "Why would you circle back around?" Function questioned. Muching refused to be questioned. "What a joke.
Boys,
I don't know the roads
boys.
here, so how could I possibly lead? Haven't we been running around randomly all this time?" Sensing that they were about to get into another argument, Function waved it off. "Never mind. It's not worth wasting my breath on you. Let's dig through this." Hua Cheng was pursuing them from behind, so they could only go forward. Retreat wasn't an option if they wanted to avoid running into him. Blocking roads was easy, but digging through the blockage was much harder. They made Shilian stand obediently in a corner, while Function rained down multiple punches on the boulders, and Muching, with bulging veins, swung his mighty Jean Madao to shatter the rocks. They cleared the path in no time. Rubble rolled, and dust clouded the air. But just as they were about to call Shilian over, they saw a red-clad figure standing in the now open passage amidst clouds of settling dust. Shilian's eyes instantly lit up. It was Hua Cheng. The Ghost King's gaze was cold. He stood silently with his hands clasped behind his back. "Why won't you go away?" Function blurted. This man was the very definition of persistence. They had left him in the dust, so how had he managed to appear ahead of them? How long had he been standing there, waiting in silence as they cleared away the obstacle blocking their way to deliver themselves right into his hands? He was frighteningly tenacious and sinister. Function and Muching quickly backed away, putting some distance between them. Hua Cheng didn't look at them. His gaze moved to the side of the tunnel, and he took a step in Shilian's direction. Function and Muching realized why he was here and rushed to Shilian's side in a flash to guard him. "Don't come any closer!" they both shouted at once. Hua Cheng's expression turned extremely dark. Normally, if someone dared to tell Crimson Rainsought Flower to stay away, he wouldn't give a damn. He'd simply laugh and approach anyway. But at that moment, he seemed genuinely wary, not daring to move recklessly. He paused in his step. After a moment, he finally spoke. His words came slowly, and his tone was calm. "What do you two mean by this?" Function, however, cut straight to the point. "You don't need to pretend anymore. We know this is your old lair. We've already seen what those divine statues are, and the murals too. We've seen everything." Hua Cheng wasn't directly facing them. He stood at an angle. The hands tucked behind his back seemed to jerk at Function's words, and two of his fingers curled stiffly inward. "His Highness saw it too?" he asked softly, inclining his head. His voice was very, very quiet. While he was still unfazed, his voice was slightly cracked and obviously strange. "No!" Shilian cried mentally. The truth was that he hadn't seen much, but at that moment Shilian could neither move nor speak. He could only lean dutifully against the wall in the corner, which made it look like he was hiding behind the other two. It must have seemed like he was afraid to face Hua Cheng, and refused to speak with him. Function drew his bow. "That's right. We now understand your intentions. With respect for your position as a Ghost King, if you still know self-respect and conduct yourself with any dignity, we ask that you don't come near His Highness again." Shilian's feelings were like a cottage on fire, black smoke roiling heavy and thick. Hua Cheng should have noticed that something was amiss, and Shilian could only hope that he would question him. He would question him directly to find out what was wrong. But Hua Cheng's current state seemed to render him unable to notice anything. "Don't go near him," he said coldly. "What right do either of you have to say that to me?" Not waiting for their response, Hua Cheng's eye flashed dangerously. "But you've reminded me that we have unfinished business to settle." The moment he finished speaking, countless shrieking silver butterflies shot forth towards them. In the face of such an attack, a spiritual shield was the only option. Function and Muching cried in unison, "Shield!" The butterfly deluge was blocked by the formless spiritual shield and shattered into shivering silver light, which rapidly recrystallized into new silver butterflies and attacked once more. The onslaught was completely unstoppable. Fengxian and Muqing gave ground slowly as they kept their shield up, and Huacheng steadily advanced step by step. The whirling winds raised by his spiritual aura stirred his raven hair, and it danced wildly with every gust. The mad fury and violence in his eye was on full display under the blinding light of the silver butterflies. Defending alone wouldn't get them anywhere. Fengxian and Muqing exchanged a look, silently agreeing to go on the attack. They maintained the spiritual shield as they charged forward. Then, with weapons flashing, the three began to fight in the narrow stone corridor. Fengxian battled with the wraith butterflies, while Muqing faced Huacheng. Huacheng flung out an arm, and the scimitar. Ming appeared in his left hand, ready to strike. This was the first time Shilian witnessed Ming fighting seriously. The scimitar was long, slender, and chillingly murderous, and it gleamed with threatening silver light. It was truly a wicked blade overflowing with evil. The battle was truly thrilling to behold. Huacheng stood his ground even when fighting 2 against 1, and Shilian watched unblinkingly with bated breath. With a flick of Ming's blade, Muqing's Zhan Medao was knocked off course and into the rocks. Although Muqing still had a grip on the hilts, the blade was stuck. He couldn't yank his weapon out. This only shocked Muqing for a moment, but Huacheng's fist was already swinging right into his jaw. The punch sent Muqing flying through the air, and he finally lost his grip on his saber's hilt. Meanwhile, each arrow Fengxian shot at the butterflies was snapped by their sharp wings. The sheer number of butterflies was ultimately too difficult to deal with. At this point, both victory and defeat were a foregone conclusion. Countless white silk tendrils slithered from the corners of the corridor and wrapped Fengxian and Muqing into giant cocoons once more. The more they struggled, the tighter their bindings became. Muqing tore at the silk as he yelled, "I knew you were the one who threw us into that pit!" "This isn't spider silk," Fengxian exclaimed. "This is—" It dawned on Shilian as well. It was butterfly silk. Butterflies emerged from chrysalises, which they wove from their own silk. This strange white silk was completely of Huacheng's making, and it was probably linked to his aggressive wraith butterflies. With the match decided, Huacheng sheathed his scimitar. "I threw you in to save you from disaster. Otherwise you would have never had a chance to find this cave of 10,000 gods," he jeered. "And it was your yelling that caused the avalanche. Why don't you thank me for saving your puny little lives?" Huacheng had probably planned to wait out the avalanche at first, getting Shilian out once the snowy mountain quieted down, and leaving Fengxian and Muqing behind. But unexpectedly the pair had gnawed through the chrysalises and made enough noise that Shilian had discovered them, which led to all the trouble afterward. If not for all that, Shilian might have really just followed Huacheng straight out without looking at a single divine statue. But the worst-case scenario had come to pass. Every secret had been torn out and exposed under the sun. Despite the anxiety roiling under the surface, Shilian's body still sat obediently in place. Huacheng's gaze was growing colder and more tense as he stared condescendingly down at Muqing. "Seems I'm the one with the real talent for sabers, not you," he quietly stated. Muqing's throat was bound by a few bands of white silk, and his face changed from blue to red and back as he was strangled. Blood leaked from the corners of his lips, and he choked out, "You! You? I see. I get it." Fengxian gritted out through his teeth. "What do you get?" "I get why this bastard hates me so much now. He probably hates you, for the same reason," Muqing said. "Why?" Fengxian demanded through his coughs. "Because he's insane," Muqing said hatefully through his own coughing. "Have you forgotten what was in those murals? He was that young soldier His Highness wanted to promote after he returned from Baiza Hill. His Highness had said his swordplay was good, and that he was well suited to the saber." "Why'd that make him hate you?" Fengxian questioned. Muqing didn't reply. Bam! Huacheng landed another punch on Muqing's face. Huacheng gave a chilling smile and answered on Muqing's behalf. "Because he kicked me out of the army." To think that Muqing had done something like that. Fengxian was astonished. "What the fuck? Why'd you do that? How'd he piss you off?" Fengxian's face was covered in blood. "I just made him go home. It's not like it's good to fight in a war. How could I have known he'd wind up being this crazy and holding grudges all this time?" Huacheng cut him off with another punch, so forceful that Muqing's face almost contorted when it landed. Bam! Huacheng smiled. "Do you think I couldn't guess why you kicked me out? Muqing looked away, and Huacheng snickered. I guess it's clear which of us is actually useless trash, hmm? Mooching spat out a mouthful of blood and grimaced like he'd been stabbed where it hurt. He replied spitefully, slowly, "Thank goodness I kicked you out. If we'd kept you in the army and let you get closer to His Highness, were you going to watch him all day with your mind full of unspeakable filth? Disgusting!" Shilian's heart squeezed violently. Hua Cheng had his fist raised at first, but it froze midair when Mooching spat the word disgusting. Veins bulged on the back of his pale hand. The fingers clenched and loosened, then clenched. A long moment later, Function said icily, "For now, I won't argue with you on that point. But tell me one thing and tell me honestly. Your argument before the avalanche, is that true?" Mooching looked to Function with his eyes wide. Function looked back, his own eyes round and bulging. Neither of them knew how to respond. "My patience is limited," Hua Cheng said sharply. Answer me on the count of 3. 1, 2. Such a rush for an answer. An idea struck Mooching within his panic. "Your Highness, run!" he cried. The moment the command was issued, this damn spell, stuck to Shilian's back, forced him to bolt. Hua Cheng swung around towards him, and the two bands of butterfly silk shot from the corners of the cave to bind Shilian. He fell to the ground before he'd managed two steps. To an observer, it looked like Shilian had frozen in terror this whole time. Or perhaps that he'd been struggling to accept the truth about Hua Cheng, or had simply decided he didn't want to intervene in their fight. Now it looked like he'd finally decided to flee, but he had failed. The truth was, though, that he had never considered running away. Shilian's hands and feet were tightly bound by the thick white silk. He lay sprawled on the ground with his black hair and white sleeves splayed out around him. His bamboo hat had rolled off to one side. Hua Cheng slowly turned to him, paused for a long moment, then made his way to Shilian's side. He'd only taken a few steps before Function could no longer hold back a desperate shout. "Hua Cheng!" Hua Cheng paused in his step and tilted his head. Let His Highness go," Function forced out a plea. "He's suffered enough. Don't... to him..." Hua Cheng didn't reply. He came to Shilian's side and, with one hand on his back and one hand under his knees, swept him into his arms. Do you want to stop there? Or you want to keep going a little bit?
Let's stop for now.
All right.
My God.
I know. Crazy. It gets better. Things are being revealed. Revelations.
Dude,
What more will be revealed? We'll have to see.
Wow.
The fact that Function and Mooching are also experiencing this with him is so important to me. Like, when I thought this reveal was gonna come out, I thought it was just gonna be like between the two of them.
Yeah.
But no. The fucking boys are here and they're like, "What the fuck? He is gay?
Like,
He's
no
gay
way.
for you?
He's a homosexual.
He's drawing fan art of you. He's a Twitter fan artist."
He's literally. But I love how he's like really like artistically talented, but his handwriting is dog shit.
It's so funny.